Hello, I'm Michael Robbins, instructor for PSY 208 Theories of Personality. Wanted to take this time to give you a little background on the course, sense of the course outline, and go over the course syllabus for the semester. So I'll be scrolling. I have the syllabus showing here on the screen. I'll scroll down, talk about it to some extent. It's posted on Blackboard. You are seeing this on Blackboard, so you've accessed the course site already. And this information, the syllabus information, will be posted there then all semester. And also periodically I'll be putting announcements up on Blackboard to remind you of upcoming events, discussion board posts, exams, if anything else comes up, and so forth. So let's get started. Again, Michael Robbins. There's my phone number here on the Orono campus, a fax number, email address. Well, that's the first class system here at Orono. So if you use first class, just Michael Robbins. Excuse me. Or Robbins at maine.edu. Course description, introduction to the most important theories in personality to date. Now, there is a variety of viewpoints in the field. Indeed, these personality theories have very different emphases, as you'll see, but I think really you'll find that you can that there are aspects of every theory you'll find interesting and informative in improving your understanding of human behavior, thought, and affect. One of the features of your text, so Reichman, 10th edition. Rick Reichman, the faculty member, now emeritus faculty member here at the University of Maine. I was working with him on research. Some of that research you'll see described in the textbook back when he created the first edition of this book, and it has survived to a 10th edition because it is popular, and one of the reasons for its popularity is the fact that Reichman provides you with criteria by which you can evaluate each of these diverse theoretical perspectives. And we'll be going over that in the first class session. So this is a 3-credit hour course. By and large, the systems you'll need to use, Blackboard, and the first class system, maybe. Primarily Blackboard, as it says here. So, reading the book is the primary set of assignments, but also the PowerPoint slides that I use in my presentations are posted on Blackboard as well, so you can review those as well too. And of course, because the lectures are available on Blackboard, why, you can watch any given one as many times as you please. So, Main Street UNet, to access Blackboard, the emphasis is on the use of Blackboard. And you might, although, you see it when you bring Blackboard up, here's information about who to contact with technical issues. This course, as I mentioned already, an introduction to the major theories of personality. Personality is a construct, as we'll see, designed to explain behavior. Also, thought, and affect, the three domains of human experience, as identified back, as far as Aristotle. So, emphasis also on research methods. So, personality psychology, psychology in general, the science of behavior, thought, and affect. And personality psychology, that is true. So you should be able to, when you complete this course, identify the constructs of these major personality theories, describe how they can be applied to understand behavior, and critically evaluate each theory. So there is an emphasis on a critical outlook, scientific outlook, critical thinking, evaluating these various theories. Now, I'm not going to go through all of the learning outcomes, but I would encourage you to read through those. Just generally describing and identifying concepts and facts for these major theoretical perspectives. Describe and identify basic research and evaluation methods used in the study of personality. And indeed, research methods will be one of the first topics that we deal with in the course. Describing and identifying criteria, primarily those provided by Reichman, for the evaluation of each theory. So, now, grading and course expectations. Basically, this is an online course. There are there's three major grading components possible. Online discussions, which are a quarter of the grade, and 3 exams. So exams, each 25%, but I do have an extra credit opportunity built into the course, as will be described shortly. So, first, discussions, online discussions. For each, actually, let me run down to the, okay, so for each 2-week block, you will have a discussion board responsibility. So, you can see the course calendar here. We start August 29th. The course calendar is set up in 2-week blocks. At the end of each 2-week block, there is a discussion assignment. At least 2 posts to the class discussion questions for that 2-week period. So, discussion 1, due Sunday, September 11th by, I think I have it as 11 p.m., and that will have to do with issues relating to the first 3 chapters of the text. What are the first 3 chapters? An introductory chapter that gives you background on theory more broadly and research methods in personality psychology. Sigmund Freud, and then a start on the many psychoanalytic and neo-analytic theories that we'll look at in the course. So Sigmund Freud, Carl Jung. Those are the first 3 chapters of your text. We will work our way through the topics sequentially. First 2 weeks, those 3 chapters. The Sunday evening at the end of those 2 weeks, September 11th, by then, okay, that's when they're due. You can do them earlier, at least 2, okay, at least 2 posts to the class discussion. Similarly, at the end of the second Section 1, weeks 3 and 4. So discussion 2, chapters 4, 5, and 6, topics relating to those. September 25th, 11 p.m., at least 2 posts to the class discussion. And similarly through the course. So basically, as you can see, there will be 6 discussion board post assignments over the semester. So let me go back up now and give you a little more detail about the nature of those discussion board posts. So I do want you to stick with the schedule. 2-week blocks. So look to get those posts done by the due date. And so this is partly to encourage you to keep on a structure with the course. It says it's important that you view the lectures during the weeks in which they are scheduled, and this contributing at least 2 posts in response to the 4 major discussion questions. There might be 5 sometimes, but basically at least 2 posts. I do want to encourage discussion, and so often over the past few times I've taught this course, since I made it an online course, there have been some very good, high-quality discussions that have evolved through class members responding to each other's posts as well. And that's fine. Basically, I want the posts, at least 2 of them should be substantive and 2 to 3 paragraphs in length. You are not constrained to 2. Okay? And you could do shorter posts, perhaps in response to what others say, or following up on a previous post of your own. Those wouldn't necessarily need to be 2 to 3 paragraphs, but I do want you to have at least 2 in each 2-week block that are 2 to 3 paragraphs. We want to maintain a civil discourse in class. Yes, I know this is an election season. Civil discourse may seem like something foreign to us right now, but for PSY 208, that's the expectation. Don't reveal the identity of specific individuals. Do proofread your writing. And indeed, please get them in for a specific 2-week block by Sunday at 11 p.m. on the date stipulated. Exams. There are 3 exams. And those are both multiple choice and written. So, here we go. Each of the 3 exams, 70% multiple choice, 30% essay. So 35 multiple choice questions worth 2 points each. And then you have a choice with essay questions. You'll be given 5 from which to choose 3 worth 10 points each. Do choose 3, okay? Don't write, no extra credit for writing all 5. Choose 3 and do those 3 the best you can. The exams are constrained to 75 minutes, so it's like a Tuesday, Thursday class period here at Orono. 75-minute exam. And So the way it's set up in Blackboard, I mean, some of you may not have taken online classes before, and indeed, some of them may be structured differently in this respect. But basically, I create a window of about 2 days plus, within which you take the exam, and once you start the exam, you have 75 minutes to complete it at that time. So once you start, I mean, plan it. When you sit down to take the exam, you're going to take the exam from beginning to end, 75 minutes, and then it will time out. Okay, so a 55-hour period, basically 9 in the morning, one day, till I think I made it like 4 p.m. on 2 days later, as specified on the course schedule. So, the discussions, participation, 25% of the grade, the exam, 75%. You can earn up to an extra 10 points by doing an extra credit article review. You would choose an article pertaining to personality psychology and review it, summarizing the major points, then discussing how the article fits in with material covered in class lectures or your text. And then there are some specific questions you should address in the review. 2 to 3 pages typed. Do basically, the Thursday of finals week at the end of the semester. And so that's, an additional 10 points typically will make the difference between, let's say, a B minus and a B, or a B and a B plus, etc. Percentages for the assignment of final grades laid out here. The discussion board posts, each of the 6 will be graded on a 10-point scale. And I do use half points, and basically then largely follow this set of percentages in assigning the final grade. If you have circumstances that preclude you from finishing the course in a timely manner, you should let me know as soon as you realize that that is true. And similarly, makeup exams, if you need, you have a trip, let's say, during the 2-day period of an exam window, you should let me know as soon as possible beforehand, so we can set up some alternate arrangement. The expectation is that you are doing exams without the textbook handy or notes handy, etc. If you want to request an accommodation, you should do that as soon as possible. And I'll set that up for you then on Blackboard. So the exams are on Blackboard, the discussion board is on Blackboard. You'll want to take a look around. I make each 2-week discussion board set of questions available at the very beginning of that 2-week period, so you have plenty of time to get it done then. So, what is included in the course? Well, in illustrating the 2-week blocks, I mentioned the very start of the course. An introduction, an overview at the start. Issues with respect to theorizing in personality and research in personality and the criteria by which the various theories are evaluated at the end of each chapter by Reichman. I mean, that is helpful in terms of comparing and contrasting the different theoretical perspectives. I don't necessarily emphasize that in my lectures. Occasionally when one of those points is particularly salient, yes, but I would encourage you to, think critically about those comparisons and contrasts. So what are then the theoretical perspectives? Psychoanalytic and neo-analytic. So everybody's heard of Sigmund Freud. Pioneer, psychoanalytic perspective, emphasis on unconscious dynamics. Neo-analytic, so neo just means new. Mostly these other theorists, well, some of them worked with Freud in the early days. So Carl Jung actually was sort of a protege of Freud before they split. Basically because, well, Freud thought he had it right. He emphasized sexual impulses, aggressive impulses as the key drivers in personality and behavior. Jung and many others thought that was an overemphasis of Freud. And so Jung, more of a spiritual approach. Alfred Adler, more of a contemporary of Freud even. Jung was a little younger. Adler also, in Vienna at the time of Freud, wound up splitting with Freud. Adler emphasizing early on more of a, sort of will to power as the primary driver, but he evolved to more of a view of the idea that our behavior, our personality, what's emphasized is guiding self-ideals. So from Adler's theory, the concept of inferiority complex. That's what that arises from. And Adler basically says everybody has feelings of inferiority. How do we develop compensatory? What sorts of compensatory mechanisms do we develop? What do we hit on to say, if I can become this, that will do it. Karen Horney. So, next generation, she really, a couple of major critiques. Her career really had three aspects to it. Part of it was very much of a feminist reinterpretation and challenge to Freud's concepts about female psychology versus male psychology. But Horney also developed an approach that very much emphasizes social and cultural influences on personality and behavior. So you will see Rick Reichman, your text author, most recently he's been interested in doing research on different sorts of competitive orientations. And that was building on Karen Horney's theory. So everybody in class has heard of Erik Erikson. Erik Erikson's psychosocial stage model, of development is one of the best known models in psychology. Erikson, now we're getting, even into a next generation. Again, historical, social, cultural influences on personality development. Essentially, Erikson accepts much of Freud's theory, but has different emphases. Also, Erikson developed very much of a lifespan model of personality and behavior and its development, whereas Freud, his psychosexual stage model, well, basically your personality development was pretty much set by the time you're 6 or 7 years old. And then we have Heinz Kohut. Kohut, his approach emphasizes the concept of narcissism. Got a late summer cold here. So, Kohut, narcissism, he says it's natural to healthy development, but it can go awry and produce behavioral disorders, personality disorders, etc. So these are all psychoanalytic, neo-analytic theories spanning the best part of 80 years. Then we move to trait theories. So trait theories, been around, well, Freud began his work just before 1900. Trait theories have been around longer. An emphasis on characteristics of personality. And historically, there have been a number of descriptive trait theories. The trait theories will evaluate, tend to accept those earlier models as having at least a degree of historical wisdom, but build on them. So Gordon Allport, very influential psychologist. Allport was at Harvard in Boston when Erik Erikson was in Boston, when Abraham Maslow, humanistic theorist, was, I think, just outside Boston. I think he was at Brandeis, so that's in Waltham. Basically, these people influenced each other's views. Allport trained many people who were then also prominent personality psychologists following up. Trait theory, stage model of development of the self. And then Allport, it is a humanistic approach in the sense of he emphasizes who are we looking to become in this life? That's a main driver in personality. Raymond Cattell and Hans Eysenck were both very quantitatively oriented. Eysenck, strong emphasis with both of these theorists on solid quantitative bases for their trait theories. And indeed, Hans Eysenck wanted to link personality dimensions to physiological processes. So he has a model that provides a biological basis for common personality dimensions, like how introverted or extroverted you are, how reactive, termed neuroticism, or neuroticism sort of an emotionality, or comparatively unemotional you are. Third dimension, he developed later, not as much evidence for it, psychoticism versus impulse control. With each of these, a biological basis. Indeed, for the last, in addition to some other possibilities, I think emphasizes the testosterone and androgens, which are proportionately higher in males than females, as a basis for psychoticism. So the trait approaches, we'll look at those. Then we'll move on, really only one cognitive theory, although we'll see other theories later that also have a major cognitive component to them. George Kelly says he holds out a model of the person as a scientist. He says, we develop personal construct systems to try to be able to better describe, predict, explain what happens in the world, essentially to maximize our reward and minimize our punishment. So we operate as a scientist, trial and error. Well, we can observe others behave in particular ways in particular situations, see what their outcomes are too. Talk about that more with Albert Bandura as well. So Kelly, then the humanistic theories. Emphasis on human potential, helping people realize their full human potentials. Abraham Maslow, well, Maslow's hierarchy of needs may be the best known model in psychology these days. Been around for, well, half a century now. And up at the pinnacle, you have actualizing needs. So we have deficiency-based needs, where we feel we're lacking something. We're motivated to behave in such a way as to get what we're lacking. But then, if those needs are largely satisfied, we have being needs, actualizing needs. Indeed, Maslow talks about D, deficiency-based cognition, and B, being cognition. D needs, deficiency-based needs, B needs, being needs. Carl Rogers approached humanism from more of a clinical and counseling perspective, and Rogerian techniques are very, very widely used in counseling. Rogers, as we'll see, believed that people have an inner organismic wisdom, and if they can be in touch with that to guide their choices, they will make healthy choices for them. Rollo May, the one existential theorist, we'll talk a bit about existential psychology in the context of Rollo May's theory. He did a degree of integration of Freudian concepts with existential concepts. And finally, we finish up with behavioral and learning theories. So still these days, three forces in psychology: psychoanalytic, behaviorism, humanism. Some would say for the cognitive models, such as Kelly, but behavioral learning theories. So B.F. Skinner, total emphasis. Observable behavior is the key. Studying observable behavior. That we can look at, we can break down behavior into the antecedent stimulus, the behavior, and then what happens after the behavior. So a reinforcer, a punisher. Now, gradually over his career, Skinner became convinced that incorporating cognitive constructs, if they are really scientifically applied, can enhance the understanding of behavior. I mean, early in his career and all through his career, he would argue that too much of psychology, psychological explanations, are based on mentalism, based on concepts that really, in a sense, can't be measured well. So something like will to power. We think that explains something, but does it really? Julian Roeder, internal versus external locus of control of reinforcement, emphasizing individual differences in the degree to which we believe that our outcomes in life are based on things like our ability and our effort, versus that our outcomes in life, that's a more internal orientation, versus an orientation where our outcomes in life are more a matter really of powerful others, chance, luck, fate. So, Roeder emphasizes expectancies, and Albert Bandura built upon that. So the concept of self-efficacy and efficacy expectancies are something that Albert Bandura has brought to personality psychology and really to our, most everybody's view of the world. And we'll wrap up then with a look at current status and future directions in the field. So we're through to the end of the semester. I think there may be a final exam period scheduled on the final exam schedule for the course, but I don't know if it's the same layout as I have here in our syllabus. We can go with the syllabus because, it is a 55-hour period. Now, I hope you enjoy the course. Certainly, by all means, you have questions along the way, feel free to email me, contact me in other ways if you want, and I hope you'll get started